Okay, so the child tax credit, which I was mistakenly calling the child dependent credit. So this is a credit just for having a qualifying child. $2,000 tax credit for each qualifying child, and there's no limit. You got 5 of them, you get $10,000. You got 20 of them, you get $40,000. Holy cow! So a definition of a qualifying child is the same as a qualifying child for dependent purposes. Child also must be under the age of 17 at the end of the year. It's so disappointing when they turn 17 and you don't get that anymore.
In November.
Oh, he turned, does he really? Yeah. Or he did? Or?
He did, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a real bummer. You're kind of not expecting it because you're like, they're still so freaking expensive. Why am I losing this now? They're even more expensive. They have more expensive tastes, and they're driving, and there's all, it's crazy. Anyway, so they have to be under age 17 as of the end of the tax year. So sorry if your kid turns 17 on December 31st. That's a bummer. They have to be a U.S. citizen or resident and be younger than the person claiming the credit for the child, and they have to be unmarried. So we've got Xavier and Paula's son Marco, 14, qualifies as a dependent. Family are all U.S. citizens. He meets the requirements, so they get to claim the $2,000 per child. It is refundable up to $1,600. Okay, so if you have zero tax liability before calculating what your child tax credit is, and you're entitled to $2,000 child tax credit, you get $1,600 of that. You don't get the full $2,000, you get $1,600 of it. So that's what that means. 3 examples that kind of illustrate the refundability. Taxpayer A, 2 qualifying children and a tax liability before any credits of $5,000. $4,000 tax credit now reduces their tax liability to $1,000. Taxpayer B, 1 qualifying child, tax liability before credits is $1,200. Applying the $2,000 child tax credit results in an $800 refund. Taxpayer C, 1 qualifying child and a tax liability of $200. Prior to any limitation, applying the $2,000 child tax credit results in a refund of $1,800. However, it is refundable only up to $1,600. So the taxpayer C gets a refund of $1,600. Okay. There's also a $500 non-refundable credit for qualifying dependents who are not qualifying children. So you get a consolation prize once your child turns 17. You get $500 instead of $2,000. And $2,000 is better than $500. I'm just gonna put that out there. So they meet the definition of a qualifying relative under those same rules under Chapter 2. And they also have to be a U.S. citizen or resident. They can't file a joint return with their spouse. And they're not claimed for the child tax credit. Well, of course not. Certain dependents who are not qualifying children, adult dependents or dependent child 17 or older. So same information, but now Marco is 20, he lives at home, does not work, attends university full-time, he is a dependent. He wouldn't even have to live at home. If he was living at college, that's fine, he's still a dependent. Not under the age of 17, so he doesn't get the child tax credit, but they get a $500 credit for Marco. Credits are reduced by $50 for each $1,000 or fraction thereof of modified AGI that exceeds $400,000. So we have a phase out again, but luckily it's pretty high income threshold, higher income threshold than some of the others. It starts at $400,000 of AGI for married filing jointly, $200,000 for everybody else. Once the modified AGI reaches 480 or 240 for everybody else, the credit is eliminated entirely. So modified AGI is the same definition as we talked about before. AGI plus any income earned abroad that was excluded originally. So we've got the same sort of, let's see, do they have the, maybe not. So our phase out range for single, and I'll just say single, that's everybody else, as well as 200,000 to 240,000. And for married filing jointly, it's 400 to 480,000. Okay. So we do the same sort of thing. So if we have, we'll use this example here that they've got. Modified AGI of 416,322 to minus, oh, whoops, sorry, 480 minus 416. Zero minus, divided by our phase out range is 80,000. Let's see if this works out right. Oh, they're dividing it by 1,000. Okay, so this, hold on a second. Yeah, I guess because it's every 1,000, I'm sorry, I've gotta use their method of doing this. Because it's every $1,000 or fraction thereof, which is a little bit different from what we did before. Cause that was to the dollar, this one is rounding to so you're gonna take the 480, we're going to the lower, I'm sorry, 416,322 minus the lower amount. Because we want to know how much above this we are, not how far into that we are. Divided by the $1,000, so how many thousands are in there? I mean, you really wouldn't have to do that. We know that it's 16.3 thousands are in there, but we're rounding it up. Even if this was 416,001, we have to round it up to 17. So it's going to be reduced by $50, so we'll take the 17 times 50. This is the reduction that we're calculating. So 17 times 50, so 850. So we're gonna take the 2,000 minus 850. So what is that, 1150 credit? Did I get that right? Oh, they've got 2 kids. I just did 1. So, but it's gonna apply to however many kids you have. So let's do another one. So let's just say we've got somebody single and they're making 225,000. All right, so we're gonna take, so how many thousands is that over $200,000? Right? So if you think of this in thousands, how many thousands over $200,000 is this? It's 25,000, right? I mean, we can do the math, but. Okay, so we've got 25,000 divided by 1,000 is 25, and multiply that by 50. And if we have, let's say we have 3 kids, so that's $6,000. So 1,250. We're going to reduce that by 1,250. So the credit is. Is that right? Yeah, I guess so. So 4750 is our credit. Okay. That's all there is about the child tax credit, actually. So it's pretty easy as long as you don't get up close to that limit. Questions?